Can I share the story of my first impression of ICC?
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to loop back to any words that you might want to share with people who are coming up through ICC
Yeah,
training or who might be interested in ICC training.
yeah,
So maybe we
yeah.
can talk about
Okay.
that for a few minutes, and then
Hmm.
I did want to hear another piece of music, and
Yeah,
then we
absolutely.
can
We'll
wrap
do
up
that.
if that's
We'll do
okay.
that
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So when I first showed up to ICC up in Ottawa, and I come into the session, and I, I'd been told about, I'd really experienced integral coaching through another coach, Wendy Hall, who was great and worked with me, helped me a ton. And I said, I'm going to double down, learn this methodology. And I show up to meet Susan and Steve. And there at the front of the class is Steve Beckett, who co-founded Warp Records. And I'm a huge Warp Records fan, especially then. And I was working I'd just come out of working in the software side of things. And Ableton was, I knew so many of their artists. And I was just amazed that this guy was spending his days teaching this coaching methodology. I was like, that instead of running the label, and his story was so inspiring too about losing his best friend and the other co-founder, and how he kind of came to be where he was, and he found the work personally transformational. And I think that to me was sort of a signal too of like that I was on the right path, but also that this work, it was going to be more about me than it was about my coaching even. Like it kind of very early on, I started to realize, oh, I'm going to be in development all the time in this thing. So then I go up on the break, I think, and I met you, Susan, and I was sort of having a quandary of sort of whatever we were working on. I don't remember, but I asked, and I just felt like I could just sense the amazing commitment and love for your teaching, just meeting you. And it was just like, it really like stopped me in my tracks. And I felt like, wow,
Mm,
this woman really cares about what she's doing. And this is a good place. I'm in a good place. So I just wanted to share that with people that,
mm.
that feeling, it's hard to convey it in words, but that is how it felt to me. And I was inspired by it from that moment. And we talked briefly too. I took a break. So I did ACM, and then I took quite a
Mhm,
long break. And
mhm.
part of that was just life had happened, and
Yeah.
I also felt like in a way new things had opened up for me, and I was coaching,
Mhm.
but I wasn't sure what was next. I felt like I was a bit confused on what my next path was, even though I knew about PCM and eventually MCM, but thought, oh well, maybe that's positioning myself too much as an integral coach, and maybe there's other sorts of coaching things that I'll do. And oh, my sons are coming back. Okay, okay, yeah, great, okay. Life happens, right? So there's just on cue.
It does.
Happens.
It
Boys
does.
come rolling back in. So I think for me it was like I was going through a lot. My dad had been diagnosed with a lung disease. I was running my consulting business, very busy with marketing work, and it just kind of felt like when's the right time. And then I think at some point there was like a lull. I had lost like a big client that was it didn't go very well, and it was for consulting. And I had a talk with Amber, and I said, I just feel like the coaching thing is where what fills my heart. And I said, there's this. I saw in the newsletter this PCM thing's opening in January, and she goes, just go. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yay,
Just,
Amber.
just go. And I said, well, what do you, what, what? She said, you always get, fired up about that stuff. You always come back energized. It's always, so why would you hesitate? And I said, well, the money and she said, well, you just do it. It's worth it. And so that was the launching into PCM. And then MCM just felt like the next step after that, after I had done PCM. But that nice long break, we talked about that one time, you and I, about how that really helped provide some perspective and time for things to settle a bit. Because I think I
Mhm,
entered PCM a lot more grounded individual and had a lot more capacity even then. And so
mhm,
knowing the right time for you, I think would be some advice, if I may, to others, if, just knowing when you feel like, yeah, this is the right move now.
mhm,
Even if it doesn't, but don't look for perfect. Just look for, is it feel directionally right for me,
mhm, mhm.
So that was one thing I wanted to share, and I guess things to share just for other folks is I think that I sort of weaved it in there, but it's really about your development. I think that's really important, and take pleasure in that. It's such a joyous thing to be able to spend some time learning from master coaches like yourself and the other colleagues you share your work with, and also the other classmates. And you're going to learn from so many people, but you're going to develop yourself a ton. And that's what really I think is maybe the most important. And I know a lot of folks even just take the program just for themselves, just to develop, and they may not
Mhm,
even coach. And that's fine too, right? It's not
mhm,
about necessarily opening a coaching business. It's like learning to have that introspection and do the deep work. Having those metaphors is such a gift. Like I can still see those metaphors in play at times. They look a little different today than they did,
mhm,
but yeah. So that was another thing. And then one other thing I'd share too is I think this is maybe a little only for the MCM folks out there, but if you're taking MCM and you're doing your final project, this is just my opinion, but don't make your final project your website or your business card. I see that so much, and I think make it something really deep and personal. Make it something, yeah, because you can make websites like I'm a marketing person, so I'm jaded, but that's just a transaction. Anybody can make a website. What do you really long for in the world? And like, what do you most want to, even if it's not clear at all? And for me, I think that was the gift that keeps giving is that I went
mhm,
music, sound. It's got to be something in that realm. And it took me the whole program to kind of get, and I developed this thing called Make Your Own Mantra, which was singing and about helping people get in touch with their inner 4-year-old and sing about things that were tough for them. But then that evolved into me becoming a songwriter, and it continues to evolve in how I'm working now. And
mhm,
I think I booked my first gig at a senior citizens home. I'm going to go in and work with some folks there
mhm,
doing voice work, and so
mhm,
it's we're it's continuing to evolve, and that seed again was stirred up by not just saying, okay, I want to market my coaching business. I think that stuff can be done easily. So that's my opinion. I know everyone has
mhm,
their own journey, and if the website is your biggest obstacle, great. But there
mhm,
are other things, and so really to take that opportunity you provide there to do something really deep and meaningful to you that will maybe last
mhm,
your whole life.
mhm.